treatment available for this COVID-19. I have two videos because when I speak with people, they sometimes say that why we should use soap or we should use sanitizers as the agent for washing hands. It's very important these days to continuously wash your hands. For a reason is that you can download this link. I don't know whether if I play this, you'll be able to hear the sound or not. But let me try playing this for you. Can you hear the sound or not possible?
It's not.
Okay, no worries. Just go by the video content. This is the soap molecule. It has a head and the tail. Now see the green part. Focus just on the green part. That is the soap molecule. And this is how our skin residue surfaces looks like. It has the tendency to come and bind and find and form a myceles, and this myceles are then carried away by this. Now think about a coronavirus which is sitting on your skin surface. So what this green particle do with that? The coronavirus, they have a bilayer, a lipid bilayer membrane, something very similar to our skin, and with the help of a protein called as a spike protein, it tends to connect onto a surface with the receptor called as a ACE receptor. Now look into the logic of this, why the government is asking us to frequently wash our hands. Now, this is the lipid bilayer structure. Now, this is the free moving soap particles. Now, this tends to go inside the lipid bilayer of the coronavirus. That's the membrane of it, where it has to go inside. And the minute it makes a formation over there, the small amount of water gets inside the virus. And the minute the water gets inside the virus is all finished. So can you see that? It again forms the myceles, and this sky blue type of thing is actually the spike protein which tends to bind to your surface. If the spike protein does not remain with the virus outer structure, virus is not considered to be an infective one. So that's why the government is asking us to frequently wash our hands. So I'll take you back. So just thought of sharing this because, yeah. And then there is another video. You guys can take the link. It's available on YouTube. Now this picture is very interesting. We are struggling. The medical staff is struggling to get the PPE, that is the personal protective equipment. I believe soon the days will be that we will be putting our raincoats or we'll be putting our plastic bags on top of us to create a barrier. So if the people like us who are there on the phone call, who are understanding the signs are not there, then the other picture which you see is the picture where we are trying to find a vaccine out of it and trying to finish the coronavirus. So which side of the picture you want to be? You want to be with the PPE, a plastic bag on you, or you want to live with something free of barrier with a vaccine coming in? Now, people say that what markets are involved. We are going through a we are going through a recession. Recession is going to come. But if you look into this, the market involved, the very first is the PPE market. Everyone was saying that the textile market is coming to an end. Now, why I was saying it as an innovation for a reason is that the textile industry has stepped up forward, requesting government that we can make the PP equipments or the garments for you, which the government at present is importing from the other countries. Ventilators, at present, ventilators cost was 3 lakhs to 5 lakh rupees. Now people are coming with such an innovation where they're saying that I can make a ventilator for 7,500 rupees. Mahindra is the one, but then our hard luck is that we get protected by an IP law. One of the doctor in PGI put an IP suit against the Mahindra, and Mahindra replied back by saying, I am going to make this only for this time. I am not going to make it or take over it for the rest of the time. The third thing, sanitizers. Distilleries have come up and said that we will not make alcohol, but we will start making sanitizers out of it. For a reason why? Because as per the WHO sanitization of the hand rub policy, the sanitizer should have more than 60 to 70% of an alcohol in the form of IP or ethyl alcohol, plus glycerol, plus an aloe vera or something for the softness of that. Drugs, pharmaceuticals have come up. Air purifier. I got a call from an air purifier company. Sir, we make corona free air purifiers, and that's something like, okay, this is nothing called as a corona free. It has to have a zero point 0.2 micron surface layer or a zero point 0.1 micron layer for the coronavirus to get inside it. So people are using different marketing concept to do that. Sixth and seventh is of something which is of more interest to you and us, is that people have understood the coronavirus structure, and people are coming with the vaccines. People are investing, but vaccines is not something that today I get a hit on a vaccine, tomorrow it is there in the market. If today I find a suitable molecule or a suitable skid or suitable number, it will take minimum, as per normal WHO policy or as per US FDA, it has to pass through different clinical phases for it to be in the market. So that time nominal in is somewhere around 5 to 6 years. But WHO has given a permission called as EUA, where they can bring this molecule or the vaccine into the real vaccine form in 18 months of time. 18 months, I'm talking from today. When I say today, 18 months after the vaccines will be available on shelf for you. The first request always goes to the health protector who are going to treat us. After that comes the general public. The last thing that the market which has evolved because of this particular coronavirus is the kit. Now in this kit also, what you need to understand is that there are two different type of kits. One is a molecular kit. The one very own kit which is made by Make in India concept is by My Labs, which is based out of Pune. He has made a kit with something called as a molecular, where the RNA purification, the nucleic acid amplification, and then detecting it using an RT-PCR is being used. The second kit, but this kit takes its own time. This kit takes its own time for the reason, once the sample is collected, it takes 2 to 3 days for the sample to get processed and to get the result out of it. Now the WHO is saying that, okay, I say that some of the patients have recovered who had the disease. Some means you will see the count going for India somewhere around 3,000 plus. Now that 3,000 plus, out of that, if I say 90% get recovered, the 90% will have a immunity for the coronavirus. Now, WHO is saying that I will not believe that they have the immunity unless and until you do an antibody test for them. So for that antibody test, what another kit that is coming in the market is called as a serological kit. This serological kits from the diagnostic perspectives will be used for two types. The one type is if you have the disease, if you have the disease, on the fourth and the fifth day, the body try to make some antibodies against that. So this kit will be able to detect whether you have an antibody or not against that. If you have the antibody against that, then you will be considered as a positive. But this does not prevent the government in saying that you are not supposed to get the molecular test done. The molecular test will be done because the quantification has to be done for that. The second case is when once you have recovered, the government will use that kit for recommending or checking the antibody level in you as a body. Now, these are the two perspectives. Out of this, one more company or one more market is getting evolved. If I say I have, and this is not something as a new market. This was the first market to get evolved after the World War One, and that's where the company like us, the GE. If I go back to the history of my company, we started with Pharmacia. If you read into the Googles of by typing up the history of Pharmacia, we actually started with the plasma. We started with the plasma for the reason is that now the government is saying the people who get cured and the therapeutic market is going to take some time in making an antibody for the commercial use, can I quickly use the plasma of the patient who has recovered and put it into the diseased person? By the time the immunity of the diseased person is trying to fight against that virus, the antibodies taken from the plasma can directly help me over there. So we call it as a plasma fractionation or the plasma therapy, which is also coming up very nicely, which recently got approved by the WHO also. And I believe to everyone, do not go by the news of saying that the HIV drug can be used for COVID-19, or for example, the tuberculosis drug can be used. These are used by the doctors under the case when they feel that if nothing is working, they will use that particular drug. In India, we have a problem that our drugs are freely available in the market and we try to take it without prescription. So this will be more harmful. Otherwise, if you are in the age group of 10 to 60, 90% of the population immunity has the capability to fight against this. Only for a reason why we are locked down is that the 10% of the 130 crores, the 10% of the 130 crores, which makes us 13 crore, our hospital sectors does not have the capability to handle it. Just to ease down on that curve, government has given a period of the lockdown. So it becomes a responsibility. It becomes more than responsibility. We understand this. It becomes more of a responsibility to tell to our near ones that this is why the lockdown is here, not considering the fact that 21 days this disease will go off from the market. This is not a magic disease which will go off by itself. Correct. So this is just an understanding, because my topic for today was talking about the market. So this is how, when a new disease comes into the market, this is how the different markets get evolved with this. Correct. Some of the markets which we used to be the customer have actually gone off from this market trend. First thing, the malls. Second thing, the restaurants. Third thing are adventure parks. So those things are all out because of the lockdown condition. Now I'll bring you back to the topic of what is uh, important from the market number 6 and 7. That's where people like us, or companies like ours, comes into play into the purification of the coronavirus capsids, or the new spike proteins, or the N proteins, against which the targets or the vaccines have to be made. So I will start with this thing, that chromatography is the process of purifying the molecules by separating them. It is commonly used technology for the protein purification. I will not go by the slides. I will ask you one common thing. Uh, if you are seeing me for the first time, I ask you to define me. The first thing you will make out is that I have a beard, right? The second thing you will make out is that I have less of hairs. The third thing you will make out is that I wear spectacles, right? So these things, I always call it as a physiological parameters. Physiological parameters is, with the first sight, what thing you can see get registered as the domain address of it in your mind. Correct. Now if I say that you believe that I am wearing a shirt, right, because I am wearing a t-shirt, because that's what you can see, but you cannot make out which particular quality it is of, right? So for that, it is more important to go into the structures. So if I say that I have a protein, to that protein I have to define it by. Okay, I will bring to you into that topic differently. So first thing first is, why the protein needs to be purified. First thing is that, find the protein of interest. That's what we are doing with the coronavirus. We are finding out that which is the protein of interest to me. For example, in the coronavirus, people have found out that the spike proteins are of interest for making therapeutic drugs or a vaccine. Second is, study the target protein. Now, when I know that this is my protein of interest, I have to study it. I need to find out that what is the sequence that it has. What is it? The people keep on asking that how much time it will get on the surface, how much time it will be there on the surface. correct? So it is more important to understand the target of the protein. Second thing, the market which is involved. So when you find the protein of interest, you try to study it and then you try to make a market out of it. That's how the vaccines molecule, which are in the second phase where you are studying the target protein, will get into the third phase. This is one of a very colorful slide which says that chromatography is the process of separating the proteins. You have a mixture of a different color compounds. I'll take back to your school memories or to your childhood memories where you used to take a leaf and you used to crush it off, and then with the help of a chalk you used to put it in water, and then you used to see that the chlorophyll pigment getting separated out of it. That time we do not know what the chlorophyll pigment is all about, but we used to see that, okay, the green color from the liquid has transferred into that. Now consider that chalk as a column. When you put up your different pigments color into that and you have the columns, it gets separated on the basis of the time. So consider this as one protein, consider this another protein, this as the third protein. So the chromatography shows the result of a separation. Now, when I say that I need to know that how I'm going to read it, these curves are the output of what particular parameter. So first thing we need to understand is the proteins. Proteins are made up of aromatic amino acids, are made up of amino acids. Some of the amino acids are aromatic amino acids which get read out at a UV of 280 as a signal. So when you have 280 nanometer as a signal, so the baseline comes, and then when your protein comes, it gives a signal out of it, and the monitor which is in my system reads it out, and you get a curve from that. Then you need to also work on the better column efficiencies, because if this peak gets merged with this peak, then it becomes very difficult to understand that which is your particular peak of interest of that particular protein. So column efficiency and selectivity are also two very important things to understand when you are talking about the chromatography as a separation process. This is a very wide topic. I do not know whether I'll be able to finish this in 1 hour of time, but I will request Dr. Neha that any session that you have, please make them understand how the efficiency and the selectivity works out for the proteins.
Yes, sure, sir.
Sure. Now the columns are packed with the resin. As what you have seen in the first slide is the column. Now this column is not normal column. This column has packed with a resin which is inside it. Now, now, now this porous resin particle. Now consider it as the balls which used to get from the roadside vendors. These are not the roadside vendors ball, but I'm giving you an example that you used to hydrate it by putting it in water and then used to keep it in the drying room. Now these balls are also like hydrated balls which have the pores within inside it, where the molecule or your protein will go and travel. Now this mesh, which is a cross sectional area of this protein, this mesh is the place from where it is like a honeycomb one. This has different sizes. This is a smaller one, this is a bigger one. So the bigger one means that the protein which is bigger in size as a shape will pass through this, whereas the protein which is bigger in size as a shape cannot pass through this. So that's where the selectivity of the resins are also very, very important. So we use different synonyms as like medium or the resin or the gel. These all makes are these all are of similar terminology. Uh, Now, to the resin, which is looking like a spherical ball, if I need to make it more specific, if I need to make it more specific to a particular chemistry, I attach a ligand to this. I attach a ligand with a different mode of covalent chemistries. This ligand get attached, and then this becomes a very specific ligand beats for my chromatography. Means further on when we'll study, we'll see that some have a positive charge on the ligand, some have a negative charge on the ligand, some have a carbon chain on the ligand, some have an affinity molecules on the ligand, on the beads. This is actually nothing but the different proteins specificity for different things. I will come back on this slide later. I want to take you to this slide first. Now this is your protein. Now, as I said that if you see me for the first time, you will make out that I have this and this. So similarly is the case with the protein. When you see the protein first, you have every protein has a biological signature. I mean it by saying every protein is different. These are not the regular DNAs that you can purify by the standard procedures. Every protein biological address is different. When I say different, but basically they differ into 3 4 parameters only. The first is the size. Most the proteins have a different size. Some will be like 3 kDa. Some can be as good as 300 kDa. Protein have a different hydrophobicity. Hydrophobicity is, for example, if I what the protein tends to do is that they have a different they bind to a different carbon chain. They bind to different phenyl, butyls, and octyls, depending upon the carbon chain which is there in them. So they have the different hydrophobicity. From where this hydrophobicity come is, for example, if I have a bucket full of a salt water and I try to throw it onto you, by the time the protein is all free, it will be without a hydrophobic patch on it. The minute I throw the bucket of salt on you, what your tendency will be that you will try to cover yourself. Now, the minute you try to cover yourself is like you are bringing a barrier. This is what the protein also do. When you put the protein into the salt solution, protein tries to give out the hydrophobic patterns of it, to which this HIC reagents bind to that. And then every protein has a different PI. When I say PI, every protein can have a positive, can have a negative charge. On the positive, we say it is a cation, it's an anion. On that basic properties, we can separate it out. Every protein has a biospecificity affinity also. Somebody put up a tag onto the C terminals, someone put up the tag onto the N terminals, or somebody put up a his tag. Somebody says that I'm using a eukaryotic system. I will put up a flag on that. So these are different things that we try to use when we are using the protein purification. So if you have to purify a protein, 4 things you should know about the protein: the size of the protein, the hydrophobic pattern of the protein, the net charge which is associated with the protein, and the affinity or the biospecificity of that protein. So once you know this, then this slide comes into play, is that once you know the biospecificity, you can play with the affinity chromatography. Once you know the charge on the protein, you can play with the ion exchange chromatography. Once you know the hydrophobic pattern of the protein, you can use the hydrophobic interaction chromatography. And once you know the size of the protein, you can use the size exclusion chromatography for separating out the protein. On Earth, these are the 4 basic type of chromatographies for the purification of the protein that exist. Now, one thing which is changing the world is that these are all primitive type of chromatographies. Few things which are changing is that some people are trying to intermix the different type of chromatographies, and they are calling it as a mixed mode chromatography also. Okay, but we'll not get into that. First, understands the basic of the chromatography. Uh, Everything you see into this scale, which is the affinity, ion exchange, and hydrophobic chromatographies, they fall into binding chromatographies. When I say binding chromatography, refer to the last slide that we have read. When a binding chromatography is there, a ligand has to be there to this particular spherical bead. If it is a affinity chromatography, you will have the nickel NTA attached to this. Nickel NTA has the affinity towards his tags, so this will bind to the his tag. If it is a ion exchange bead, to this bead, you will have ligand as good as diethylaminoethyl, quaternary, you will have sulfonics and all. So different groups are there which gets attached. So we call it as a anionic group, anionic ligand, or a cationic ligand will get attached. If it is an hydrophobic one, you can have a phenyl carbon chain, you can have a butyl carbon chain, you can have a octyl carbon chain attached to it for making it. But the second thing is when you are working on the size exclusion chromatography, which is called as a non-binding chromatography, this particular ligand is not attached with the bead. It is only the bead which does the size exclusion. As I said, different porosity of the bead takes in the different molecular weight sizes, and as per the size, the molecule travel. That we will see when we do the when we will do different types of chromatography. I'm so far so good. Anything I need to?
Yes, sir, you may proceed because the concepts are clear. They have a little knowledge of your this chromatography in their lecture also in class
Sure,
lecture, so they are easily getting it whatever you are delivering. So
sure,
now you can proceed.
sure. Thanks, ma'am. So now, as ma'am said, you have the knowledge of this. Now it is very, very important to understand the purification strategies that need to be involved. Now, the purification strategies is that we defined it into the three phases. One phase is you have to capture your protein. Second phase is you have to do the intermediate purification of your protein, and the third is the polishing of your protein. What I mean by the capture is that once you have grown your protein, once you have grown your cell, the cell is not making only your protein of interest. Cell is making other host cells protein also, which are of no use to you. So that's the reason in the capture stage, what you try to do is that in the capture stage, you try to bind your protein of interest by making the impurities pass out in the flow through of the column. In the intermediate purification, what you do is that in the intermediate purification, now what is of more importance is not only the binding pattern of your protein of interest with the bead, but you also see that any of the impurity which has got bounded during the capture stage should not remain during the intermediate purification. Now our aim is to increase the purity. In the capture stage, the protein of my interest purity, if it is about 70 to 80%, in the intermediate purification, it has to jump to somewhere around 90 to 92 or 95%. So in the intermediate purification, we decide upon different buffering capacities. We also define about the different bead size that we use for doing the separation on that. So intermediate purification, we try to remove the bulk impurities out of it. In the polishing stage, our main focus is on achieving the final highest level purity. I need to have my molecule which is as much pure as possible. I'll give you an example stating that during our parents' time when they used to get an injection, that injection used to leave a mark on the body. That is for a reason because the vaccines at that time were not that much pure, but whereas the same vaccine, when we take it today, we do not have any mark on that. That is for a reason is that the impurities which were causing that endotoxin, which was causing that mark, or the endotoxin which was there in the vaccine, has been removed by bringing in the polishing step. So that's the very importance in designing your, we call it as CIPP steps. And in the CIP, that is the capture and intermediate purification, usually your binding chromatography steps comes into play. Uh, Capture, I always try to put either affinity, ion exchange, or hydrophobic one. Whereas in intermediate purification, I always try to keep ion exchange as one of the step for my interest. But these days, I am seeing that when people are working on the monoclonal antibodies, they are keeping HIC as the first and affinity as the second one. And the polishing is always either a analytical ion exchange step or a size exclusion step for the polishing stage. From the research perspective, capture will be always affinity. People will put up a affinity tag or a his tag. They will purify it. Capture will give 90 to 92% of the purity for the research. In research, we do not go for intermediate purification. We directly load it onto a size exclusion column. And the size exclusion column usually gives us 95% and above as the purity. Now, from the research window, why the purity is important? The purity is important for the sake is when I have to give the sample for an NMR. Uh, For NMR studies, anything of 80 to 90% purity is good. But now think of if you have to make a crystal structure, there the 80 to 90% purity will not be of good thing, because the structure will not be pure, or you will not be able to make the right pure crystal out of it. So for that particular thing, you need to get 90 to 95%, in fact 95% above, when you are trying to purify your protein for the characterization by making a crystal out of it. So you have to bring the polishing step into that particular window when you are going for the protein characterization. Okay, so ma'am, you say that their basics are clear with this. So I actually made a
Yeah.
basic slide. I will take them to a different slide then. I have a advanced one.
Yeah, you have to share your another
Yeah,
slide.
not the slide, but I will take them to the, take them to the, okay. This is the advanced one. No, not this one. How to combine protein purification techniques.
Just open your slides
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and then share it again.
yeah. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is slightly I mean, this is the advanced mode training that we give. But since I was thinking they are the second year, I was thinking from the very basic prospects of that. I will take them directly to, yeah. Make sense now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so now as we discussed on this as a technique. Now the second thing which is more important is from the purity that I was asking you, that different percentage has to be done. Now if you're looking for an MS, the amount that you need is something on the picogram level, and you need to have a purity of 80% approximately. But look into the therapeutic proteins, you need to have a very high protein purity requirement of it, something close to 99%. Now, the important factors when it comes to the performance is that we need to have the resolution, we need to have the speed, we need to have the recovery, and we need to have the binding capacity. Now, when I say speed, think of a process where you have a better binding capacity, but the time it is taking is 2 days. So there, what happens is that the industry, from the market perspective, is not ready to take it as one of the determined step for the purification. So that's where the CIPP helps out. You work on the capture stage, where I said you can use affinity, ion exchange, or the hydrophobic one. You need to focus both on the speed and the capacity. Now, this capacity comes on from the bead that I have shown and the ligand which binds to it. More the number of ligands which are there with the bead outer structure or the inner structure, the higher will be the capacity for that particular bead to bind it. You need not to go with the beads which do not have higher capacity in the capture stage. Always goes with the speed and with the capacity when it comes to the capture stage. Intermediate purification. In the intermediate purification, as our aim is to remove the bulk impurities. So bulk impurities aim, you have to look into the resolution and the capacity. You need to select the beads which are not big in size, but which are smaller in size and are able to give you a better resolution. When I say better resolution, it means when the peak goes up, it should not form it should not form a shoulder with the other peak. It should be able to go up, come back as a baseline, come back. It should be able to go up, come back as a baseline, and then the second one should rise up. It should not be something like over here, that you have a peak going up and then the second going up. There the purity is not here. Now, when we go for the polishing, in the polishing, what is more important is now I have a protein. So you see over here, it is going up, coming down, and then going up. In polishing, now you have the pure protein, which is 90% pure. So you are not interested in losing even the 1% to 2% of your protein of interest. So that's why in the polishing, the recovery becomes very, very important. So you have to recover everything with the resolution involved in that. So now this is that which type of chromatography reagents provide the desired performance. When you go for the objective that you need to want higher resolution, you need to have a small uniform sized bead. When I say small uniform sized bead means you need to select a bead which is of 8 to 40 micron in size. When you have the objective of speed, you need to go with the larger bead. So what will happen when you go with a smaller bead and a higher flow rate, the back pressures will be higher. When the back pressures will be higher, then when you are operating that particular run, the alarms of the pressure will keep on coming and disturbing you. So that's why when you go for speed, you have to go for the large beats. When you go for high resolution, you have to go for the small. So that's where in the CIP strategy, you might have not find any link between the speed and the high resolution. It's always the speed or the capacity and high resolution and the high recovery. So the recommendation for the CIPP is that when you are working as an affinity, always try to work in the capture. Ion exchange is always preferred for all three types of purifications or the steps. HIC is recommended for intermediate purification and the polishing, and size exclusion is always recommended for as a polishing step. Now in the research window, capture will be the first step and size exclusion will be the second step. So basically we use, this will be all up slightly higher. So we use orthogonal technique and minimizing the sample handling as the technique. So in the purification, we can go either from the affinity to the size exclusion. We can go either within affinity. We can also go with affinity with the size exclusion. We can also go affinity with an ion exchange if the impurities are very close in the PI, then or the molecular weight, size exclusion will not be able to remove the impurities closer on the molecular weight. If the impurities have a close PI, then the ion exchange can help you out in that. You can also go with an ion exchange, HIC, and the SEC mode. So this is from the window, it might look like very easy to do, but this window, if you apply the strategy, it is minimum 1 year to 2 years of work to get a purified protein. It looks easy as a strategy, but it is not that easy to get a 99% pure protein. Okay, this is one of the example that you see that the purification of a tag protein. This is of more interest from the research window. You do the capture protein. Now, if you see over here that the affinity elute, you have something over here, but you have something small things also coming in the SDS page. But the minute you do a SEC, which is a size exclusion chromatography, your impurities get removed, and then you get a peak of a pure protein. And if you run the SEC-elute on the SDS page, you can see one single band. All the impurity bands have gone away. This is how the purity levels are determined. Similarly, the example of the untagged proteins where you have the ion exchange samples, where you have the ion exchange sample, the sample, you run the ion exchange, you run the HIC, and then you run the SEC. Can you see the gradient of the fall in the impurity from the samples, whereas the protein of interest is somewhere over here? So this is how the different technologies or the different type of chromatographies helps in getting the right purity. So you can do the analytical assays to monitor the purification. One is the protein identity. You can perform your Western blottings or the MS. You can do the SDS page also. You can quantify using a spectrophotometer. You can quickly do the analytical SEC, and also what usually people do is an activity by purifying off their with a purified protein. This is the size homogeneity analysis. Now when you work on the cell culture, and this is purely from the industrial perspective, when you work on the monoclonal antibodies, people do the aggregate analysis. Is like they run high throughput process development batches. High throughput process development batches is like running different conditions all together in small runs. You might have seen fermenters of the capacities of 1 liter, but the fermenters or the bioreactors for the industrial customers starts from 25 ml and goes up to 2000 liters. So these type of analysis they cannot do at 2000 liters. So they start with 25 ml as a bioreactor. They take out the sample from them and then they do the aggregate study. What is an aggregate study is that they run the protein in two wavelengths. One is the 600 nanometers and the other is at the 280. They study the ratio of it, the 280 divided by 600, and they have to follow a pharmacopoeia guide. What is a pharmacopoeia guide? The ICH guidelines. What is an ICH guidelines? They are governed by the US FDA. US FDA tells them that for this product, how much is the aggregate that they have to keep. Lesser the aggregate, better is the protein recovery, better is the protein quality. So they work for the condition where they get something of 0.14% as an aggregate. So how this is done is they do an overlap of the graphs that they have run. For example, you have made 10 runs altogether, 10 different 24 ml patches. They run it and then they overlay it one over the other, and then they see that out of the 10 runs, which one is giving them the best result. From here, they pick up that particular clone which is giving them less of the aggregates, or that particular conditions which is giving them the less of the aggregates. So this is an outcome of an experiment. This is an outcome of a CIPP strategy that results into the less number of aggregates also. So when you are developing a new purification protocol, it is very important to define the purification objective. My first slide, which I showed to you in this, was you need to know that what, after purifying your protein, what you are going to study from that protein. Are you going to do an MS, or are you going to do therapeutic studies for that? So you need to define the protein objective. Then you need to know that, consider what is known about the target protein, which particular protein you are going to target. How in the literature, how much is it, how much is known for that. Select the purification tool. Now in the CIPP strategy, you have to select the right purification tool. You have to develop the right analytical assay and develop the individual purification steps. What is an individual purification steps is, in the CIPP, I recommend you to use 3-step purification. But now the market is saying how I can reduce the cost. When I say the cost means every step is involved with the cost. If I say each step incurs 30% of the cost on the molecule, industry is saying, can I remove from 3-step to the 2-step purification so that my 30% of the cost gets saved? So that's the reason you need to work on developing a single purification step or minimum 2 purification steps. So, for example, if I work for a DHFR, I know the size, which is 186 amino acids. It is 21 kilodalton, single polypeptide change, no disulfide. Known binders are there. You know the hydrophobicity, you know the charge versus the pH. So this is how you know the target protein. Now, implication is that size. You might not be understanding this terminology of SuperDex 75. SuperDex 75 is a column which separates a protein which is of size of 5 kilodalton to 60 kilodalton. Now here the size which is given to me is 21.5. So it falls under that window of SuperDex 75 for the separation. So yes, I can consider SuperDex 75 as. Can I consider, because the charge versus the pH, if you see the charge versus the pH, it is showing on the positive side, for example. So can I use either the anionic or the cationic exchanger? Can I use the positive side of it, or can I use the negative side of it? So can I use a known binder? Can I consider the hydrophobic interaction chromatography for that? So once you have the framework of the protein ready, once you have this window with the answers ready, it will be very easy to answers to these questions. Now, instead of can, because now I know the size, I can say that I can use SuperDict 75. The minute I know the pH or minute I know the I can say that I can go with an anion exchanger for that. Once I know the binder, if I say that it binds with histidine, I can say that I can go with Histag. When I know the carbon chain, the carbon length on the protein, I can say that it is the hydrophobicity index is this. Now, protein purification development, now you have to develop, as I said, the 3 steps are there. Step 1, step 2, and step 3. And remember the CIPP window, affinity can be connected with size exclusion. Ion exchange can be put in all 3 steps, and HIC can be put in second and third step. So you can decide questioning to that which step has to be what. This I will skip. Okay. Now this is.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, we have a 10-minute session for question answer round.
Sure.
And if I'm a student, if I'm saying like if I would be a student, I must say, wow, what a lecture. Because the thing that I have covered in the class, and that's why we schedule this kind of webinar, so that the student can think whatever they are studying and whatever they are giving them, it's a worthful and it's a useful. So
Yes.
I just request you to just wind up your lecture in a half
Yes, I
minutes,
will
because
just.
we have covered almost everything in the
Correct.
chromatography.
I will just
And
give them an insight on the design of
yeah.
experiment, and then I'm done.
Okay.
Uh, this is something called as a design of experiment. Design of experiment is like uh, it's like, as of now, when we put our experiment, we do an OFAT. OFAT is one factor at a time. Change my pH condition, keep the conductivity constant, or change the conductivity condition, keep the pH constant. So what is happening is I'm only changing the linear. I am only changing the linear factors. I am not changing the quadratic factors. Design of experiment is one thing which is now changing the world in understanding how different factors quadratically affect on the binding parameters. So that's where the design of experiments, it's a very, very vast tool. There are a lot of jobs which comes on this particular subject matter experts. If you are a design of experiment expert in designing an experiment, window is open for you. You do not ask for a job, jobs comes to you. So this I believe I can just okay, that's where I will just wrap it up by saying that purification and the target protein, go for the tools, study on the design of experiments, understand what the design of experiment results are, study the contour plots out of it. And then one thing with the protein purification is always, this is my favorite point, keep it simple. The better, the smaller, and the best results is always the acceptable part in the industry. Ma'am, you can go ahead. Any questions on this?
Yeah.
I can take.
I if somebody forum is open to ask any question, I must say, like, Pragya, you can ask your question. So you can unshare your screen.
There are two ways. If the question does not come from the student, then the person who has given can ask the students the question.
Neha ma'am,
Yeah,
may I
Vikas.
ask?
Yeah, sure. Vikas, sir, you can ask.
Yeah, Karan sir.
Sir,
Hello, good morning, sir.
very good morning, sir.
Very wonderful lecture, sir. This is very enlightening facts that has thrown today, and a
Thank you so much,
very
sir.
very excellent lecture that had covered so many concepts here.
Sure.
And I would like to ask you few questions regarding separation technique.
Okay, sir.
Like you mentioned that there's a resin sheet you're using, which is porous in nature, right?
Correct, correct, sir.
So, as a student perspective, where do you find the mass transfer concept into it?
Very good question, sir. Usually these type of things we cover when we are doing the design of experiment thing. Mass transfer always has to be balanced. What is
Okay.
going inside the bead has to come out of that bead. How industry do the mass transfer is that some of the proteins have very, very high affinities to some of the ligands which are there. Even if I pass 1 molar NaCl, 1 molar sodium chloride to that bead, it still do not tend to come out. So understanding where the protein loss has happened is of very, very importance, because if I do not understand it with my protein of interest and tomorrow I use a different protein in purifying, I will get a ghost peak in that. For example, in that conditions, that particular protein which have stuck to my beads elutes out. And from that chromatogram getting this peak, I will never make out from where this ghost peak is coming. So that's where one of the biggest application in the industry is always work with the mass transfer in mind. Mass transfers for the student is that what in the simple terminology is that what is going inside, everything has to come outside.
Okay, the next question is from Nitin Kumar Singh.
I think Vikas sir is saying he has some question.
Okay, he is actually muted. Sorry, he's
Okay,
muted.
sure.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Second question relies over the design of experiment.
Correct, sir.
Okay, so up to what extent you're going to use your design experiment and how many parameters you're going to select there? Since I'm also working over this tool in my own research here, and I wanted to inquire about this. What kind of tool and which specific tool you're using into this?
Sir, design of experiment involves 3-4 different tools. One particular tool which is going out is CCP model with the star. CCP
Okay.
model with the star is that if I take a scare, this is not a scare, if I take this as a scare, in the scare, I have to read what is happening at this end, and these are my parameters. This axis is one parameter, this axis is another parameter. I need to study this with this, this with this, this with this, and also the center point of it.
Yep.
And now with the center point, there is something called as a floating point. Now this center point is getting covered in CCP model. There is another point which is called as a star point, which is the 3D point, which is actually monitoring something from here, that how the parameters are behaving. So DOE is very, very vast, sir. So if you want, I can send one of the DOE literature booklet to Dr. Neha, and ma'am can share it with you, sir. It's almost 180 pages booklet. Sir.
Yeah, my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, Nitin, you can ask your question.
Karan sir, thank you. इतनी अच्छी नॉलेज शेयर करने के लिए थैंक यू सो मच सर.
वेलकम सर.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे आपने कहा प्रोटीन प्यूरिफिकेशन, तो सर रिट्रीवल जब हम उसका करते हैं तो उसका जब रिट्रीवल करते हैं तो अमाउंट बढ़ाने के लिए हम इंडस्ट्री में क्या क्या मतलब यूज कर सकते हैं कि उसका रिट्रीवल थोड़ा ज्यादा हो?
सर इसका सिंपल आंसर है एक्सप्रेशन सिस्टम, एक्सप्रेशन वेक्टर्स. मोनोक्लोनल एंटीबॉडी जब स्टार्ट हुआ था, मोनोक्लोनल एंटीबॉडी का जो टाइटर्स आता था, आप टाइटर्स की पढ़िएगा, वो 1 ग्राम पर लीटर का टाइटर था. आज की डेट के अंदर कंपनीज 5 ग्राम्स टू 10 ग्राम्स पर लीटर टाइटर पे बात कर रही हैं. सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम अब हम लोगों को आ रहा है कि एक्सप्रेशन वेक्टर सिस्टम जितने एडवांस हो गए हैं कि टाइटर्स बहुत हाई आ रहे हैं. बट अगर मेरे पास अपस्ट्रीम में टाइटर हाई आ रहा है, क्या मेरे पास डाउनस्ट्रीम में वो चीज है उसको कैप्चर करने के लिए? इज द मेजर क्वेश्चन दीस डेज गोइंग ऑन. तो उसके लिए एक नई चीज स्टार्ट हुई है. अभी जितना मैंने आपको बताया वो है बैच क्रोमेटोग्राफी. जो टेक्निक्स हम करते हैं वो सारे बैच में करते हैं. नाउ पीपल आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कॉन्टिन्यूअस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, कॉन्टिन्यूअस क्रोमेटोग्राफी. कॉन्टिन्यूअस क्रोमेटोग्राफी इज कि मेरे पास 3 कॉलम पड़े हैं, एक कॉलम 2 कॉलम लोड पोजीशन में, एक इल्यूट में. एक कॉलम पूरा लोड हो गया, उसके बाद जो सेकंड है उस पे मटेरियल जाना शुरू करता है. जैसे ही सेकंड इल्यूट हो गया, पहला वाला कॉलम इल्यूशन के लिए चला जाएगा, लोड हो गया, पहले वाला कॉलम इल्यूशन के लिए चला जाएगा, थर्ड वाला कॉलम इक्विलिब्रेशन के लिए चला जाएगा. तो ये एक आपका कॉन्टिन्यूअस साइकिल शुरू हो रहा है आज.
Okay, so this technique is coming, or because when we were doing purification by the ACTA, this thing is not there.
Now we are doing parallel purification or multi-step purifications. Now things are changing.
These
Or you can also look into an ECTA PCC, which is totally developed on continuous purification.
Okay, okay, very nice.
In fact, Amgen is the first company who has applied for US FDA license with the continuous manufacturing. Continuous manufacturing is like an oil industry.
Okay,
Oil comes and then you get a different grades oils.
very nice. Yes,
Sir, I
any
have
more
more questions.
Tell me, sir.
सर जैसे अभी आपने कहा कि मतलब जैसे जैसे इंक्रीज हो रहा है टेक्नोलॉजी में, तो वैसे वैसे हम एडवांस कर रहे हैं और सोच रहे हैं कि जितने स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व हो रहे हैं वो थोड़े हम कम करें। तो जैसे स्टेप्स कम करेंगे तो सर टाइम भी तो ज्यादा लगेगा शायद।
सर स्टेप कम करेंगे तो टाइम कम हो जाएगा। एक स्टेप अगर 30% ले रहा है तो 30% टाइम भी ले रहा है। तो इसलिए जो पहला स्टेप मैंने आपको बोला था स्पीड, लोग ये कर रहे हैं कि मैं मैक्सिमम स्पीड फर्स्ट स्टेप पे कर दूं और इंटरमीडिएट प्यूरिफिकेशन थोड़ा स्लो कर दूं।
Okay, now
We should end the session. Yeah, I think others have classes.
okay.
Anything, ma'am, you can drop my mail ID or my phone number. They can reach out
that
to
would
me on
be
LinkedIn also.
that would be better. I'll share your email ID to all my students.
More than email ID, the LinkedIn address will be okay, because
Okay.
mail ID,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
I
yeah.
told you, is going to get changed, ma'am.
Yeah. Now at the end, I thankful to all my faculty members, my co-host Pallavi ma'am, Roma ma'am, and all the students of the biotech department. And now I request our head of the department to say a few words regarding the webinar, and thank you our today's guest.
Thank you, Neha. We are very much thankful to you, Karan, for taking
you,
out
ma'am.
your time and interacting. It was a very good and wonderful session. I like especially the CIPP part that you talked about, how we are using this strategy and the significance of polishing in the proteinification. And the last line that you said, that the Mool mantra is keep it simple. Keep it simple. Try to keep it a smaller size. So
People
that
make
was
complex
fantastic.
processes, but it does not reach out anywhere. I
Yes.
know Dr. Neha from the PhD days, so ma'am knows me. The funda is always to keep simple.
PhD is yet to complete. Abhi I'm in the process.
I know you will do it, ma'am.
Yeah, you have seen me the struggle period of with
Yes,
with
I have seen.
ACTA. Whenever I
Correct.
stuck with ACTA, I simply call Mr. Karan and say like, sir, ये हो नहीं रहा, ये कैसे होगा? And after some days, he was calling me, Neha ma'am, ये नहीं हो रहा, ये कैसे होगा? So it was very good. That time we have very cherishable memories to
Correct.
remember right now, and I'll try to keep as vivid as I can.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Karan.
Thank you. Take care, ma'am.
We will take your help in other sessions also, because the student,
And
I guess, loving you to listen again.
anytime, ma'am. In fact, I was supposed to come, but I could not come down that time when you invited. I'm really sorry for that. But anytime for this, ma'am. Thank you so much.
We will definitely invite
Absolutely
you.
fine. You have covered it all today.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you
you,
so
sir.
much, ma'am. Bye.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.